Hey, what's up, guys? I came back really quick here because I've seen just from posting that first video and whatnot, like I posted on 4 different forums, whether they were pertaining to stress or anxiety or anything like that, and I saw like a huge influx of questions about like symptoms. Oh, my head feels this way, my chest feels this way, I think like this. So I found it actually kind of really important because like I've compiled like a list of symptoms. Well, if you want the technical term, like there's somatic complaints, so the somatic symptoms, which means like of the body. It's like derived from like I think the Greek word meaning body, um, where basically put together in a huge list. I mean, it's like 4 pages long of different symptoms. Like what you really need to understand is like anxiety, panic, depression. It can manifest itself in so many different ways. I mean, typically, if you've been dealing with this for a while, I'm sure on more than one occasion, you found yourself on WebMD or a site similar, trying to figure out, oh, my fingers twitching funny, why is that happening? Because I mean, what I've found is that typically people with anxiety symptoms or they have their first panic attack, they make a trip to the ER, the hospital, maybe they go to their just primary physician, and once they're checked out and there's nothing wrong, they start to, well, I mean, myself included, like when this happened to me first, I went to the doctor, it was real bad chest pains or, something along those lines. Heart was beating really hard, blah, blah, blah. I thought I was having a heart attack. I mean, I was 25 years old. The chance of me having a heart attack were slim to none. But after going and getting checked out and they told me there was absolutely nothing wrong with me, I found myself, I was in the car, driving home, and instead of just having a peace of mind and feeling okay about the whole situation, I started to let my mind wander. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, I must, I have something worse wrong with me. Maybe I have MS or some sort of nervous system disorder. I have heart disease. I have cancer, brain cancer. I started really freaking out, and then I became so involved, constantly just always body checking, like always thinking to myself, like, oh my God, my shoulder hurts. I wonder if that's what causing me to feel this way. Anyway, so over the years, like I've you know always written down like certain symptoms and stuff, and then when I make my trips to the doctor, I would be like, okay, well, what happens if my throat feels funny, or does this feel like a lump to you? I mean, it was actually, it's ridiculous to a certain extent, but to me it was very real, and to you as well, I'm sure it's extremely real. So I mean, with the help of a lot of these different forum sites, for instance, like stresssetter.com, like I encourage you to check this site out. I mean, it's tons and tons of people on there, sharing war stories. I mean, you'll find yourself laughing within 10 minutes. Just you're gonna go through some posts and you're gonna be like, oh wow, I had that. Oh, I feel the same way. And I mean, there'll be a little bit of apprehension. You'll be scared a little bit. You're going to laugh a little bit. But I do encourage you to check out these sites because, I mean, they're people just like you. I mean, personally for myself, like I didn't really feel like I had anybody to talk to. I mean, you don't want to walk up to your buddy and be like, oh yeah, well, I feel like I have colon cancer. I feel like I have stomach cancer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, any good friend's going to kick you when you're down, right? I mean, they're going to tell you like, oh, suck it up, that I mean, you do become very scared of people judging you or thinking, that you're crazy. I mean, I had a few occurrences where, like my friends really weren't, super supportive. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had supportive friends, but a lot of them were, looking at me as though, uh-oh, this guy's gone off the deep end. Anywho, from, a few of them sites, I've been able to compile a really long list of different symptoms that aren't on your typical sites. I mean, you take a Google search of anxiety symptoms. I mean, it's gonna be like a rapid heartbeat, excuse me, rapid heartbeat, maybe sweating, some tingling, maybe a chest pain. I'm trying to think of some of the other, real common symptoms. And the thing that scares you the most is because you're like, well, I have muscle twitches. That's not on the list. So, basically what I want to do right now is like I'm going to read for you, this huge long list So maybe you can, check some of this stuff off your list. I mean, by no means don't take this as an end all be all. These are all just different symptoms that over the course of time, like, people have had and have been attributed to anxiety. But I mean, if you really feel like you have something, don't hesitate to go and get it checked out. I mean, there are times when something bad could happen. I mean, this is just a list that's going to maybe give you a peace of mind that, some of the stranger symptoms that the doctors have already, told you were nothing, that, this might cover it. You know what I mean? And feel free to, put in the comments and things, like, things that you're nervous about. And I mean, I'll research it. You know what I mean? I love this stuff. I live and breathe this now. I mean, it's almost becomes like somewhat of an obsession for me because, like I said before, like, it's taken so many years of my life and destroyed a lot of relationships and a lot, it's taken a lot from me. So basically, like, I'm on board to kick its ass now. I mean, it took a lot out of me, but I'm out to get it now. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, when like when I told you in that first video, like, you have a friend. I mean, you do, because I am here 150%, putting in all my effort into trying to figure out a way to sidestep the symptoms, get over the symptoms, and, I don't know, just, you know, quality of life. Yeah, I think that's what it really boils down to, is like, your quality of life is being hindered because of this disorder. So, without further ado, I mean, I know I've been rambling here, but I'm going to start going through a lot of these symptoms, step by step. And I want to give credit to stresscenter.com, because I got a lot of these from them, from a few of the members. They kind of compiled this list, and I have some of my own. And I hope that this will ease your mind on a few of the things. And, excuse me for reading straight off, but I mean, there's absolutely no way I'm going to memorize each and every one of these. But some of the, the more tricky ones, or ones that might not be as common, I will try my best to explain some of them. And if you have any further questions about any of the other ones, like I said, feel free, throw something in the comments. And also feel free, if there's another aspect of this or something that you're feeling like we're not covering, put it in the comments. I'll figure it out. I'll either private message you, or, I'll make a video all in itself. Like I said, I'm here to help. So here we go. All right, like, body symptoms. Okay, burning sensations throughout the body, chronic fatigue, which I know is a big scary thing for me. Like, when I'm feeling extremely tired and I feel like I slept all night, that was always kind of a scary thing for me. Like an electric shock feeling, which isn't necessarily the same as if you sleep on your arm wrong. I mean, it almost feels like an electric current going through your system. I've experienced this myself. On the flip side, an excess of energy and you feel like you can't relax. I mean, some people do have restless leg syndrome. My ex-girlfriend actually had restless leg syndrome, and I mean, it is very, very frustrating. Let's see, feeling cold or chilled, hyperactivity, excess energy, increased or decreased sex drive, muscle twitching, neck, back, shoulder pain, tightness, stiffness, no energy, feeling lethargic, tired, numbness or tingling in the hands, feet, face, head, or any other places. That's another one that really got me. I would get some numb feelings, like in this area over here. I mean, I had my wisdom teeth pulled prior to kind of getting this disorder. So, like, I would, prior to that, I would always attribute it to that. And then, once this started, I started thinking, oh, stroke, the whole nine. Let's see, persistent muscle tension and stiffness, sore or tight scalp, or the back of the neck can kind of feel the same way. You can be easily startled. Sweating, uncontrollable, profuse sweating. I mean, that's kind of an uncommon symptom, but it does happen. Like, the floor feels like it's moving either up or down for no reason. I personally have this happen when I get on and off of elevators, and that used to scare the crap out of me. Before I saw this, I can't begin to tell you how happy I was when there was a few people on the stress center forums that talked about having the same thing. I would get off of an elevator, and I would just be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Just really disoriented and discombobulated. It was a scary one. Moving on, trembling or shaking, an urgency to urinate, frequent urination, or a sudden urge to go to the washroom. Um, I've heard a lot of people have this problem, especially in store, when they go into the store to shop. Um, I guess with this disorder, I mean, you do have more anxiety, like going into like public places, because I mean, obviously we're all afraid of being embarrassed or someone like seeing us out of control. So it will commonly trigger having to use the bathroom. I mean, IBS is huge with this as well, irritable bowel syndrome. Also, you get like warm spells. All of a sudden, like you get like a flush, like a sense of heat, like just kind of coming up on you, and then like weak legs, arms, or muscles. And the funny thing is like that's just body symptoms, just right off rip. And if you were to go to WebMD and look up some of the scarier, things that can happen to you, like heart attacks or strokes, anything like that, almost all of these are on there. So of course you're going to start panicking. You're like, oh my God, I have 5 out of the 20 symptoms. Of course you're going to be freaked out, but rest assured, like I said, anxiety can manifest in any which way you want it to. And I know it's going to sound crazy. You're like, oh, my symptoms start before my anxiety. No, you got to understand, subconsciously, you're starting this. You're setting yourself up. You know what I mean? We're going to get into that in the later videos and things. But I mean, like your negative thinking, and it's all subconscious. It's setting you up for this. And I mean, this is just your body reacting to this negativity. I mean, these constant like adrenaline releases, like from being scared or being nervous or feeling like you have to do something about everything. I mean, you're almost like a drama queen without really wanting to be. You know what I mean? Like your body, during each and every time you get nervous, scared, pissed off, you know impatient while driving, I mean, your body releases like three main chemicals, which is like adrenaline, cortisol, and sodium lactate. And those, I mean, they can wreak havoc on your body, especially like your midsection. But anyways, we'll move on to the next section here. We got okay, for your chest. Okay, chest pain or discomfort, an overwhelming concern for your heart, which I found to be very common, something I had myself. You feel like you have to force yourself to breathe. Um, this one kind of hits home for me. Like there's been times that I've actually convinced myself that I didn't know how to breathe anymore. Um, Also, I guess this is going to be a little off topic, but I've been able to convince myself on multiple occasions of a lot of different weird things. Like one time I convinced myself I couldn't swallow my food. It's really creepy. And then the funniest one I can think of is at one point in time I convinced myself that I couldn't walk, like I forgot how to walk. Crazy story. Like I said, we'll get into all of that later on. Um, Let's see. You find it hard to breathe, feeling smothered, shortness of breath. That's a common symptom. You'll find that on, everyday sites. Um, Frequent yawning and trying to catch your breath. That is actually kind of like a habit. You know what I mean? My brother actually has that. Like when he's feeling anxious, like if you make eye contact with him mid yawn, he will stop. I mean, it's another one of these crazy things. Let's see, another thing with your heart, it's beating too hard or too fast, rapid heartbeat, heart palpitations, the heart flutters that make you stop and be like, oh my God, what's going on? Irregular heart rhythms, flutters, skip beats, tickle in the chest that, makes you kind of want to cough. Um, Again, another um, thing that can happen is, I don't know if you've heard of mitral valve prolapse, but there is a small percentage of anxiety sufferers that have, some of these irregular heartbeats and things like that. I mean, you can have an arrhythmia, you could possibly have mitral valve prolapse. It's something that you would want to consider talking to your physician about. I mean, just for safety purposes, but I mean, if you've already been cleared by the doctor, add this to your list of things that you don't have to be afraid of anymore because they're anxiety. Um, we'll move on to emotions. Um, First, we'll go with dramatic mood swings. I'm sure we've all had them. I mean, when you're not feeling well, I mean, you tend to just snap at people. I mean, you're so consumed with how you feel. The last thing you want is like questions and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I personally couldn't handle that. Uh, let's see. Emotions feel wrong. I'm not sure. I don't think there's going to be a large percentage of you that can relate to this, but you start to question why you feel the way you do. You're like, you're angry. Oh, I shouldn't feel angry. And I mean, and then guilt piles on. Anyways, frequently feel like crying for no reason. I mean, obviously this has a correlation with depression, obviously. But I mean that frustration feeling, like, when you're so consumed with your body symptoms, your somatic symptoms, somatic complaints, of course you're going to feel like crying. I mean, you can't get an answer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you go to the doctor so many times and you're not getting answers. What else are you going to do? I mean, you're either going to be pissed, or you're going to want to cry. And I've been on both ends of that. So, that's a lot of fun. See, we can dive into some fears. Let's see, a heightened fear of what people think of you. Social anxiety would fit this category more or less. I personally can talk to anybody, but I do at times feel overjudged. And I do realize that's an irrational thought, an irrational feeling of my own. Let's see, afraid of being trapped in a place with no exits. This is also, I mean, this also goes along with your fear of embarrassment. I mean, when there's no exits and you can't control your comings and goings, you know, one of the biggest fears of an anxiety sufferer is losing that control in front of people. You know what I mean? We're all great actors. I mean, we spend a lot of time, you know, trying to hide this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want to lose any friends or girlfriends or look weaker, especially a man. I mean, that it was the toughest for me because I felt like my manhood was being taken from me because I was afraid of so many things that I never had fear of in the past. You know, so anyways, okay, fear of dying, fear of being in public, fear of losing control, fear of impending doom. It's a common one you'll read on a site. Fear of making mistakes or making a fool of yourself to others, fear that you're losing your mind, trust me or not. Fears about irrational things, objects, circumstances, or situations. It's very common. Um, Fear of going crazy, again dying, of even normal things. I mean, you have a fear of, maybe eating. You know what I mean? Just as an example, I mean, this is things that just reading the forums earlier, I had a girl talk about every time that she sits down to eat. I mean, she just gets this overwhelming, like, terrifying feeling and can't understand why. Somehow or another, she's attributed, pain to eating, which then transcends into this fear because she gets all these, body symptoms. Um, let's see, unusually frightening thoughts or feelings. I wouldn't mind elaborating on this a little bit because I found that it's kind of common, especially with the focus group that I just did recently on Saturday. People get really, really scared because they have these, what they assume to be crazy, out of control thoughts. Like I had a guy talk to me about being around little children. And, of course, I mean, you hear somebody start talking about that. I mean, this guy's not going to, walk into a room full of his family and be like, sometimes I worry that, when I make eye contact with a child, the parents are going to think that I'm a pedophile. Okay, that doesn't necessarily make this man a pedophile. He just has a fear of it. I mean, you got to realize, like, the media and, just the how people are these days. I mean, that can be a fear of somebody's where he's going to be like, oh my God, he has like a genuine hatred or a disgust for pedophiles and is very afraid of being, put in that category. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, his fear was, being around children and everything like that. Like he could not even look at them. Like that was his big thing. Like he did not want to look at kids. He couldn't hold a kid's hand. I mean, nieces and nephews were different because, I mean, I guess he felt a little bit more comfortable because he's been around them so many times. But I guess just in a social environment, if one of his friends, he talked about one of his friend's daughters walking up and like grabbing his leg and, oh, blah, blah, blah. He said he started freaking out because he was just like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to pat her on the head. I didn't want to do anything because I didn't want anyone to think that I was looking at her in that way. And I'd ask him, I'm like, well, were you looking at her in that way? And he's like, no. He's like, but I do fear that people are going to think that I am. So, I mean, unusually frightening thoughts or feelings. That's just an example. Heightened self-awareness or self-consciousness. You ever feel like you're lost in your own head, or you feel like you're constantly body checking? You know what I mean? Like you're so outside of the present moment that, yeah, I mean, you feel everything. Like, I mean, I've had occurrences where it's like if I eat something extremely salty, like, I mean, I can feel it in my system. I can feel my, my heart beating a little bit faster, and I don't know, you almost kind of get a sick feeling. But I think that takes, years and years and years of, consistently being consumed with how you feel. I mean, you become very in tune with your own body. Um, let's see, some more fears. A need to find the nearest bathroom. Yeah, I mean, it's a comfortable place. I mean, typically, I mean, it's a private area. I mean, you can typically go into a stall. I mean, if you feel like you're going to have a panic attack, you're having anxiety, or you're feeling like everyone is looking at you, I guess that would be your, first place to go. And then also like a need to sit near the exits. Um, again, that fear of embarrassment. They need that exit. They need that exit to get the hell out of there as soon as possible before everybody sees me go nuts. Um, one that isn't actually on here, but one that I personally had was the need to drive. There was only very few people that I would allow to drive, which people that I guess I found to be a safe person, that I felt competent enough to take care of me if I were to have a heart attack on the freeway while they were driving. Irrational, sure, but at the same time, like I always need to drive. Like I need to be in control of my comings and goings. Like I need to be in control of whether or not I have to stay or leave a place, because I mean if I feel stuck somewhere, I mean that would typically bring on, anxiety feelings, blah blah blah. Okay, we'll move on to like head symptoms. Dizziness or lightheadedness, extremely common. It's a scary one. I personally don't like it. Frequent headaches or migraine headaches. I didn't have those until maybe 3-4 years into my battle with anxiety, but I mean they can get pretty bad. Feeling like there's a tight band around your head or pressure or tightness. See, this is one that I struggled with for quite a long time, because you don't find that on a website or in a textbook. I mean, I go to school at Eastern. The psychology department there always has tons and tons of books, like either like the outdated versions or whatever, that they're actually just giving away. Anybody can take one. So me being the type of person, I want to know what's going on with myself. I need to be in control of this disorder, blah blah blah. I picked up probably about 25 of these books, ones that I thought pertained to my condition, or ones that interest me. Anyways, I would say 15 of them, were on anxiety and whatnot. And I would directly go right to the symptoms lists, and none of them talked about head pressure. And in these forums of talking to these people, that was a huge concern. Like people were terrified. They're like, oh, I always have this pressure in my head. I feel like I have an aneurysm, or I might have a stroke, or blood clot, blah. It's never said in any of the textbooks. Doesn't that, I mean, doesn't that piss you off? I mean, that really pisses me off, because, if you actually go to a physician that, specializes, or actually, is pretty well versed in anxiety and panic, or depression, they can tell you right off rip that you're going to have head pressure. I mean, it's not only your blood pressure rising. I mean, it's a culmination of a lot of things. And like I said, we'll break these down farther. Like I said, whatever in the comments you want to know more about, I'll find out for you. Um, let's see, where were we at here? Oh yeah, head, neck, and shoulder pain, stiffness, tightness. We already went over this before. Shooting pains in the face. It can happen. I typically would get them here and here. It's just stress. I mean, like I said, stress can manifest itself in any which way. Same thing with anxiety. It's just a shooting pain. Don't worry about it. Let's see, shooting pains in the scalp of the head. When you close your eyes, you feel like you're beginning to or will float upwards. I never personally had this, but from talking to other people, I guess it's a very scary feeling. I mean, yeah. Let's see, a sore jaw that feels like a toothache. Scary one, right? I mean, what's one of the main symptoms of a heart attack? Jaw pain, jaw pain. Any site you go to, oh, if you're having pain in your jaw. But subconsciously, or without you really knowing, when you're feeling really anxious and stuff, like I didn't notice this for a long time, because I would get that jaw pain, I'd freak out, I'd run to the hospital, oh, I have jaw pain and I have chest pains, well, I have a heart attack. Well, I've had 31 EKGs. I'm only 31. I've had 31 EKGs. How convenient, 31 and 31. So I guess I had one for every year that I was alive. That's insane amount of EKGs for someone my age. But the thing of it was is I never noticed that, like when I was feeling extremely anxious, I would, you can only see it like that, clench my jaw like this, because I was so consumed. Like your body's so tight all the time. You know what I mean? You're just waiting. You're literally waiting for something bad to happen. So which I can cause TMJ, which is temporomandibular joint, which is clenching of the jaw and grinding of the teeth. It can actually, I mean, it can hurt pretty bad. If you go to the dentist, they'll be able to tell you if you have that or not. Here's one that's interesting. We're going to move on to like hearing. Here's frequent or intermittent reduced hearing or deafness in one or both ears. I've had this. It's weird. It's a very strange thing. I don't understand why or how that and anxiety correlate, but it does, and there's statistics behind it that support it, and they've had enough people complain about it without any underlying disorders or anything like that. I mean, like inner ear infections or anything like it. It didn't end up being, so I mean, it did make the list. Low rumbling sounds in your ear, like I don't know, like okay, when you hear the bass outside, like from a far distance, like someone's got bass in their car, you kind of hear boom, boom, bass in your ear. Kind of scary if you don't know what it is, but add it to your list. Ringing in the ears, noises in the ears, noises in the head. Sure, noises in the head means noises. That doesn't mean voices. If you have voices, you might want to see a psychiatrist. All joking aside, I did have a kid that I did talk to that talked about walking through walls, thought everybody was an alien, voices in his head, the whole 9 yards. Not a funny thing. Very, very scary. Not so much for him. He seemed to enjoy it, but anyways, if that is the case for you, then I would seek more professional help. I don't think that that's really something that someone with only anxiety would have. If you're hearing voices or someone is talking to you, get yourself checked. We're going to go on to mind, just like mindfulness. Okay, a feeling of desensitization. That's a tough word. Desensitization or depersonalization, which is like you almost feel like you're looking outside of yourself, or not looking outside of yourself, but you're outside watching yourself do whatever you're doing. Or you have like that space feeling, a detached feeling, which can be very scary. But typically people that have the chronic anxiety and have problems for 3 or more hours, your brain can only take so much. So your brain will actually start to try to take care of itself. Like if you're having consistent, panic attacks and high anxiety and stress for a prolonged period of time, your body, you get this sense of bewilderment because your brain just starts to shut down functions that it doesn't need. Because I mean, obviously, I hope that you know that most of the anxiety is, it's the fight or flight response. And during that time, like your body shuts down everything it doesn't need, like your digestive tract. I mean, that's why people end up with bad indigestion. That's for instance. Let's see. I'll go on to the next thing here. Let's see. Try to get this. I'm starting to ramble here. I want to get through this list so you can get this list down and hopefully start feeling better. Let's see. A fear of going crazy, fear of losing control, feelings of unreality, surreal feelings are not uncommon. Frequent feeling of being overwhelmed or that there's just too much to handle or do. I found this to be across the board common with so many people. And one of the videos that I'll be making later on is how to kind of take care of this overwhelming feeling. You know what I mean? What I would do is I would start like making lists of the things that I had to do because I would have a tendency to either if I procrastinated and I had a ton of things to do, I would be jumping from one spot to the next, to here to here to here to here to here, and I was never really getting any momentum going. Like I was never actually getting anything done. I was just trying to, I don't know, take care of 40 problems at once, which is going to overwhelm the mind, and then you end up with nothing. You end up with nothing done. You're sitting in a corner. You're like, what the hell am I doing? You have no idea, and you just feel overwhelmed. You just want to give up, possibly cry again. Lord knows. Let's see. Also, difficulty concentrating. I mean, if any of you guys are in school or you have a job that, you know, your mental capacity has to be on, at 100% all the time, this could really be a problem for you. Obsession about sensations or getting better. Um, well, you're in the right place to getting better. You're it's a long road. Like I said, there's plenty of videos to come. We'll tackle that. Let's see, repetitive thinking or incessant mind chatter. That was common for me as well. Always something going on, something going on. See, your body it's upset about something that you don't want to handle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have something that you're worried about. I mean, it can be something as small as like you got a big test on Thursday and you don't want to deal with it and you're procrastinating. So like you will tend to manifest other things to worry about just so you don't have to worry about that thing, whether it be big or small. So for me, it would almost kind of seem like an OCD thing. Like I would be in an uncomfortable situation. Like my buddy had a bachelor party that was actually 2 years ago, and I made the drive all the way up to his cabin, and it was a very uncomfortable thing for me. I didn't at the time. I really hated driving. I was a wreck all the time. Yet no one could actually tell. I mean, I was always happy-go-lucky on the outside, but I would repeat song lyrics in my head, constantly. So you start feeling like you're going crazy. I mean, it would just be like the most random songs too. Just maybe it wouldn't always just be the last one you heard on the radio or something. I mean, I would just pick the most random song and just repeat it over and over and over. And it didn't really have necessarily a soothing effect, but I mean, it did distract myself from whatever was bothering me at the time. Um, let's see. You often feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. Like you feel as though you have to do everything. You know what I mean? And that'll go hand in hand with the anger segment that we'll do later on. But I mean, you'll start, almost attacking the people around you, feeling like you're doing everything and nobody's doing anything. Just remember, nobody always and not everybody nevers. I don't even think I said that right, but nobody nevers and nobody always is. Okay? Yeah. Try that on for size. I mean, hey, great grammar. Yeah. Thank you, GI schools, right? Okay, we're gonna move on to mood. Always feeling angry and a lack of patience. Well, a lack of patience is going to set you up for having this disorder anyways, or making it more common that you're going to have it, or you're going to be a little bit more, excuse me, a little bit more susceptible. Depression, obviously. I mean, I have some friends that have been depressed, and it's funny, all of their backstories and a lot of the things that I can see that are underlying causes of it and what's channeling them towards that. And like I said, we'll get into some of that later. Um, Feeling like things are unreal or dreamlike, frequently being on edge or grouchy, feeling like crying for no apparent reason, having no feelings about things you used to. Some people get cold. You know what I mean? Like your mind can only take so much. So I mean, it's like a 2% chance that this is going to happen, but you can become so overwhelmed to the point where you just go on shutdown. You know what I mean? Like you just have no emotions towards anything. And also you feel like you're under pressure all the time. Okay, we'll get back to more somatic symptoms or somatic complaints as far as like your mouth and stomach. Like a metallic or ammonia or unusual smell or taste. Like I always got the metallic. I never really got the like the ammonia or like a tinny taste or anything like that. But it was always, yeah, the metallic. Feeling like you're choking, like you can't swallow or your tongue is swelling. Uh, some people get a constant craving for sugar or sweets. I would typically get that if I had like a bad panic attack, which absolutely will drain you. I would take like a small nap. I'd wake up and I was just like ferociously hungry for something sweet. Typically, I personally went with Mojo Cliff Bars, peanut butter pretzel version. They're awesome. Um, let's see, constipation, diarrhea, difficulty swallowing. or in my case, convincing yourself you're having difficulty swallowing. Dry mouth, feeling like you can't swallow properly or that something will get caught in your throat. Feeling like your tongue is swollen. Frequent upset stomach, bloating, gaseous, IBS. Lack of appetite or taste. The taste one, that's new to me. I only had 2 people talk to me about that, but I thought it was worth putting on here. Like I said, they're, if someone's having it, I want everyone to know about it. Nausea or abdominal stress, very common. The thought of eating makes you nauseous. Tight throat or a lump in the throat, and vomiting. I'd like to take a little bit of a time out here also, because this is another section of symptoms that if you go to WebMD and you type in any of these, they will come up with like 40 different types of cancer. I mean, 40, I might be blowing that out of proportion, but I mean, honestly, if you put in, 2 or 3 of these, I mean, there's going to be some sort of a terrifying disease that could go along with it. Trust me, it's anxiety. Always go to the doctor, get yourself fully checked, but now you know it's anxiety. See, okay, as far as sleep, difficulty falling or staying asleep, frequent bad, bizarre, or crazy dreams, hearing sounds in your head that jolt you awake, insomnia, super, super common, or waking up in the middle of the night, jolting awake, um, waking up in a panic attack. Night panic is something that I actually had for a lot of years, and not one physician had any idea what I was talking about. Like, they're, just stress, which is true. It is stress to a certain extent. But I'd be like sleeping or like half asleep, and then I was like, you know what I mean? I'd wake up, my heart was just pounding, and I would freak out, and I'd shake my girlfriend awake, and I'd just be like, oh my God, I think I'm having the big one. I'm having a heart attack, or whatever the case may be at the time. And this would happen for nights at a time. You know what I mean? 2, 3, 4, 5 nights in a row. Then I would have to go to the doctor, try to get some Xanax, something along those lines, to try, at least so I can get a couple of good nights sleep. Like, I've noticed that when you're sleep deprived, these are so much worse. Your anxiety is tenfold worse. I don't know if this is something that, you guys have experienced, but I mean, isn't it true that when you do not get your full 8 hours, or, even, I mean, some people can do 6 hours, but if you don't get your full 8 hours of sleep, your anxiety and panic is just like way freaking worse. Like, I mean, like, it can attack you better. Your mind is not as rested and equipped to fight these things. And, so give yourself a sleep schedule. Put yourself on a schedule that you can do each and every single night. Scheduling, another video that we're going to do, is all on scheduling. Make a sleep schedule. Go to bed at the same time every night. This might be able to cure it for you. Try not taking naps for the insomniacs out there. Don't do the naps. I mean, after panic attacks, I mean, you're going to feel like you want to fall out. Go clean the closet or something like that. Just keep going. Keep going. Don't give yourself all them naps. It's going to set you up for bad night of insomnia. Let's see. You feel worse in the mornings. This I found so many people, complaining about feeling so much worse in the morning. Like, I feel poisoned. I feel terrible in the mornings. My anxiety is just out of control. They feel like they can't start their day. I mean, anxiety is the 3rd leading cause of people not going to work and people not showing up for things in the mornings, behind like 2, I think, like terminal illnesses. I mean, I'll have to get back to you on the exact illnesses, but stress disorders, anxiety, panic, depression accounts for the 3rd most sick days in the world. Like, people just keep taking off of work. I mean, that's some serious shit right there. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, I would skip class. Like, I would wake up in the morning, I would feel so horrible, and I would think to myself, like, oh my God, this is going to be such a horrible day. Like, I could not imagine going through this day again, like, feeling panicky all day and trying to hide it from everybody, and it's just exhausting. Anyways, we'll move on to sight. I always found this one very, like, this is cool, actually, to me. We'll go through the symptoms, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Like, distorted, foggy, or blurry vision, dry, watery, or itchy eyes, eye trick, seeing things out of the corner of your eye that isn't there, stars, flashes, etc. I have a great story about this because this is something that I just started having probably 8 months ago, where sitting on the porch and I was reading. I can't even remember what book it was, but all of a sudden I would see like this go across my face. I'm just thinking to myself, what the hell was that? The first couple times eyes were playing tricks on me. Well, it just kept happening. It kept happening. Well, it started to freak me out. It's like I'm seeing shadow people out of the side of my eye. Or out of the side of my eye. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, not only do I have to, contend with the fact that I'm, you know, dying of terminal illnesses every day and trying to explain that to people. Now I'm seeing shit too. You know what I mean? You start freaking out. You're like, okay, the craziness hit a whole new level. But once I read about it, I mean, I don't necessarily know exactly what causes it, nor do any physicians. Like, they don't know what causes it, but it's common across the board with people that have had anxiety for long term. Like, you do start having problems with your eyes. I'm not, and I assume because of the fight or flight response, like your pupils dilate to allow more light in, because obviously during the fight or flight response your body is doing whatever it can do to survive. And you've had this disorder for so long, you've had this on such a consistent basis. I mean, obviously it's going to affect your eyes at some point. You know what I mean? But yeah, I always thought this was really, really cool. Eye sensitive to light. I had this horribly. I mean, I had my sunglasses on in the house. Sometimes at night even. I wear my sunglasses at night. Yeah, I make the jokes. Yeah, funny. Um, let's see, spots in your vision, flashing lights when eyes are closed, or your depth perception feels wrong. I never had this personally, but a lot of the people that I have talked with have had this, and I guess it's really horrible. I mean, you get this discombobulated feeling, and a lot of the times when you're walking, I mean, you just kind of feel like unsteady. But yet again, it's just anxiety. Add it to the list. Don't be scared of it. As far as touch goes, excuse me, numbness is common. Pain when touching things. I never had this. I've actually never really heard many people, but a couple of people added it to the list. Tingling, pins and needle feelings, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Other symptoms. These were like, okay, the first one on that list was being a hypochondriac. Well, I mean, if you're worried about any of the above 5,000 things I just talked about, you have a touch of hypochondria. If you're getting strange feelings in your knee and you're thinking to yourself, that's probably cancer, you're a hypochondriac. I think Jeff Fox really should make a whole new stand-up routine on this. Let's see, muscle twinges, worrying all the time, tingles, gagging, tightness in chest, tongue twitches, shaky, a breath lump, heartbeat problems. Again, if this is something that you're having, get checked by the doctor just to rule out the possibilities of arrhythmias or mitral valve prolapse. Do me a favor, do it for yourself, whatever. Head tingles, itchy tingling in arms and legs, like it's actually like it's almost like under the skin, um, like an itch you can't scratch, literally. Um, let's see, things that you were going to worry compulsively about, or things that are commonly worried compulsively about, is like having a heart attack, having a serious undetected illness, dying prematurely, going insane or losing your mind, harming yourself or someone you love uncontrollably, being embarrassed or making a fool of yourself, losing control, fainting in public, not breathing properly, choking or suffocating, and being alone. Well, that's a small list. Like, I mean, I can add a few for you. I developed a fear of the heat, like being outside and the heat. It scared the absolute crap out of me. Like, I was doing like a workout routine or whatever. My girlfriend actually bought me P90X, and it was here in Michigan. We had probably the hottest summer. I mean, it was you know across the whole United States. It was the hottest summer to date. But I was upstairs. Didn't really have the air on or anything. I mean, I enjoy, previously to this, I enjoyed, the hot weather and everything like that. So, I mean, I didn't really have the air on, just a couple of fans going or whatever, and I was doing P90X, pretty rigorous exercise in the living room, and, sweating, like, out of control. assuming it was from the heat and the physical exertion. I mean, I hadn't eaten really well that day. I didn't really drink a lot of water. It's another thing you're going to do. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. We're going to talk about this. Keep in your head. Stay hydrated. Um, well, long story short, well, I ended up like kind of having like almost like I was passing out, and I was dehydrated, heat exhaustion, the whole nine. I had to have a buddy take me to the emergency room. He didn't know what was wrong with me. They ended up giving me 2 bags of fluids, but end result was I became really, really, really obsessed with being dehydrated all the time. Like I was very, very scared of that. Like I mean, I was drinking anywhere from 5 to 6 of the bigger Gatorades, not like the huge like liter bottles, but like your tall fat boys. Like I was, oh, I mean, I was drinking 5 of those at a time. I mean, I had an experience not too long ago. I went and played paintball with some friends, and like none of them even brought water bottles with them. Well, me, I had brought 4 Gatorades, which 2 I finished in the car before anybody even got there. I drank another one before we even started playing, and then between rounds, which mind you are only like 10 minutes, I was drinking another full one. I mean, I was literally peeing every 15 minutes. I mean, it was almost as bad as like a night out drinking. I mean, I was constantly peeing and peeing and peeing. Nobody else was drinking anything. It was super hot outside, and I think one of the guys was like, I feel a little dehydrated. Maybe I should get a sip of water. So he goes over to the drinking fountain, drink, drink, drink. Totally fine. I'm freaking out. I mean, I have like literally a gallon of liquid in my system, and I'm still terrified of being dehydrated. So I mean, that became an overwhelming fear for me. Where I mean, I'd be cutting the grass, and I mean, I would cut half the grass. I don't even have a big yard. I would cut half the grass, and I'd be up there, and I'd be slamming water just to make sure, just in case. I never wanted to be out of control. Like, as we talk later and we get more into some of these videos, we're gonna you're gonna realize that control is a huge issue, and losing control is one of your underlying fears. It is huge, and that was one of my biggest ones. So, the fear of losing control, I would try to compensate drinking enough water, because passing out, you're losing control. It's a very scary thing. Anyways, guys, I look forward to your comments. Anything that you have to say, anything you want to ask me, shoot. I will get back to each and every one of you as much as I can. I've been rambling a lot, and I thank you for listening. I'm going to try to get this list in some sort of a PDF format, or maybe something where you guys can maybe download it, put it on your fridge. I think it would help out a lot. But anyways, until next time, just want you to trust, and we'll talk to you soon.